The Distress Call That Shook the Stars, Part 1. Signal from the Void. Commander Eliza Chen stretched in her chair, fighting off the drowsiness that came with the third consecutive night shift at Artemis Station. The Deep Space Monitoring Facility, positioned in Earth's L2 Lagrange point, represented humanity's farthest permanent outpost. Through its massive array of sensors, humanity listened to the cosmos, hoping to find answers to the age-old question, are we alone? Coffee, Commander. Lieutenant Raj Patil offered a steaming mug as he took his position at the adjacent console. God, yes. Thank you. Chen accepted gratefully, inhaling the rich aroma. Anything interesting on the scans tonight? Patel shook his head. Just the usual stellar background noise. Though I'm running a new algorithm to filter out. He stopped abruptly, eyes fixed on his display. Wait, that's odd. What is it? Chen straightened, instantly alert. There's something, a pattern in the noise from Sector 87 Delta. It wasn't there on my last scan. Chen moved to his station, coffee forgotten. Sector 87 Delta was on the edge of mapped space, nearly 30 light-years from Earth. Nothing of interest had ever been detected there before. Could be equipment malfunction, she suggested, though her pulse quickened. Running diagnostics now. Patel's fingers flew across the controls. All systems nominal. The signal's definitely there. And it's structured. Structured how? Repeating patterns. Mathematical sequences. He looked up at her, eyes wide. Commander, this isn't random. There's information encoded here. Chen stared at the waveform on the screen, recognizing the unmistakable signature of artificial origin. After 15 years at Artemis, she was finally seeing what everyone both hoped for and feared. Alert Director Hammond, she ordered, her voice steady despite her racing heart. And begin signal isolation and analysis protocols. We need to be absolutely certain before we make any announcements. Within hours, Artemis Station was buzzing with activity. Scientists who had spent careers hoping for this moment were now working frantically to understand the mysterious signal. Director Hammond had immediately invoked the First Contact Protocol, notifying world governments while maintaining public silence until they had something concrete to share. The signal contains multiple layers. Dr. Maya Lindholm, the station's chief sinelinguist, explained during the emergency briefing. The surface level is mathematical, prime numbers, basic equations, essentially a universal language to establish intelligence. But underneath, she displayed a complex visualization on the main screen. There's something else, a message or possibly data packets. Could it be a trap? Asked General Williams, the military liaison who had arrived via emergency shuttle from Earth. Something to lure us in. Possible. Chen conceded, but unlikely. The signal isn't directed specifically at us. It's omnidirectional, like a broadcast. And it's weak, degrading even as we analyze it. I believe it's a distress call, Dr. Lindholm said firmly. And if I'm right about the degradation pattern, whoever sent it is running out of time. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity's first confirmed contact with an alien civilization might be witnessing its extinction. 3 days later, the United Earth Ship Horizon left orbit, accelerating toward the source of the mysterious signal. As the most advanced vessel in Earth's small fleet, it was the only ship capable of reaching Sector 87 Delta within the estimated time window. Commander Chen stood on the bridge, now serving as the mission's scientific director alongside Captain Marcus Drake, a veteran of the Mars colony's conflict. The crew of 40 represented Earth's finest, scientists, engineers, and military personnel, all chosen for their expertise and psychological resilience. Final acceleration complete, announced Flight Officer Zhang. We're at maximum sustainable velocity. Estimated arrival at the signal source in 18 days. Drake nodded. Good work. Now we wait. He turned to Chen. Your team making any progress with the signal? Some, she replied. Dr. Lindholm has confirmed it's definitely a distress call. And Dr. Katri believes some portions contain technical information, possibly schematics or coordinates. Schematics for what? We don't know yet, but whatever sent this signal has technology far beyond ours. The compression algorithms alone are centuries ahead of our capabilities. In the ship's main laboratory, Chen's team worked tirelessly, decoding more of the signal with each passing day. By the end of the first week, they had extracted visual data, glimpses of a massive ship or station, clearly damaged, orbiting a red dwarf star. "It's incredible," whispered Dr. Lindholm as they reviewed the reconstructed images. "The architecture, it's like nothing we've ever theorized. Look at the scale markers," Dr. Katri pointed. "If these measurements are accurate, this structure is over 3 kilometers long. And badly damaged," Chen noted, indicating the large sections that appeared to be missing or destroyed. "Any idea what caused it?" "Not from this data. But there's something else." Katri pulled up another image. "This appears repeatedly in the transmission. We think it might be what they're running from." The image showed a dark, geometric shape with strange energy patterns surrounding it. Unlike the elegant flowing design of the damaged vessel, this object radiated menace even as a simple silhouette. "Have you shared this with Captain Drake?" Chen asked. "Not yet. We wanted to be certain of our analysis first." "Do it now," Chen ordered. "If there's a hostile force out there, we need to be prepared." As the horizon approached the halfway point of their journey, the crew began noticing strange phenomena. Instruments occasionally flickered, and several crew members reported unusual dreams, vivid visions of crystalline structures and flowing light. It could be stress, the ship's psychologist suggested during a staff meeting, or perhaps radiation affecting our neural patterns. "Or they're trying to communicate," Dr. Lindholm countered. "The signal has been getting stronger, changing. They know we're coming." Captain Drake remained pragmatic. "Whatever it is, we maintain course. We've come too far to turn back now." On the 12th day, as Chen was reviewing new signal data in her quarters, the ship's AI announced, "Attention all personnel. Unknown object detected on long-range sensors." She rushed to the bridge, joining Drake as he examined the readings. "It's small," he noted, "about the size of an old Earth shuttle. And it's moving directly toward us, from the direction of the signal source. Yes, current velocity suggests intercept in approximately 6 hours." Chen felt her throat tighten. "First contact. They're coming to meet us." Drake's expression remained guarded. "Or something else is. Alert status yellow. I want all defensive systems ready, just in case." The object continued its approach, slowing as it neared the horizon. Close-range scans revealed a crystalline structure that seemed to pulse with internal light, a smaller version of the damaged vessel they had seen in the transmissions. "It's beautiful," breathed Lieutenant Zhang from the helm. Indeed it was. The craft resembled a perfect geometric shape that Chen's mind couldn't quite process, something between a dodecahedron and a sphere, facets catching the distant starlight and refracting it in impossible ways. "They're transmitting," announced Communications Officer Dias. "Same frequency as the original signal, but much stronger." "Put it through," Drake ordered. The bridge speakers emitted a series of tones, complex, harmonious, and clearly artificial. Dr. Lindholm, who had joined them on the bridge, immediately began analyzing the pattern. "It's a language primer," she said excitedly, "similar to the mathematical foundation in the original signal, but more complex. They're teaching us how to communicate." For 3 hours, the alien craft maintained position alongside the horizon, exchanging signals. Dr. Lindholm's team fed the data into their translation algorithms, making remarkable progress in establishing basic communication. "They call themselves the Nixians," she reported. "At least, that's the closest pronunciation our vocal apparatus can manage. They're a crystalline-based life form that evolved around the star we've been calling HD 219,000, 134. What do they want from us? Drake asked the question everyone was thinking. Help, Lindholm said simply. Their home system was attacked by something they call the Void Eaters. Most of their species was wiped out. The survivors fled in a massive Ark ship, but it was damaged in the escape. They've been drifting, sending distress calls for nearly 50 years. 50 years. Chen was stunned. That's before we even had the technology to detect their signal. Apparently, they knew of Earth. They've been observing us, among other species. They chose to send their distress call to the species they believed most likely to help. Drake raised an eyebrow. They chose humans. Why not some more advanced civilization? Dr. Lindholm's expression was solemn as she delivered the Nixians' message. Because, Captain, according to their observations, humans value life above all else, even the lives of strangers. And because they believe we possess something unique among the stars, hope in the face of impossible odds. The alien craft sent one final transmission, coordinates not to the damaged Ark, but to a nearby star system where they could rendezvous safely. Then it accelerated away, disappearing from sensors within minutes. Captain Drake ordered an immediate course change. As the horizon altered its trajectory, following the path of their mysterious visitor, Chen stood at the view screen, watching the stars shift. They traveled across 50 light-years of space just to make contact, she murmured. Whatever these Void Eaters are, they must be terrifying. Then it's a good thing the Nixians found us. Drake replied, a determined edge to his voice. Humanity's first step into the galactic community won't be to stand by and watch another species die. As the horizon accelerated toward its rendezvous with the unknown, Chen couldn't help but wonder if humanity was ready for what awaited them. First contact had arrived not with philosophical exchanges or cultural sharing, but with a desperate plea for salvation. And humanity, for better or worse, had answered the call. Guardians of the Stars. The UES horizon dropped out of FTL drive near a binary star system, one yellow dwarf similar to Sol and a smaller red companion. The coordinates provided by the Nixian scout had led them to this unmarked region of space, far from any previously charted human routes. All stop, Captain Drake ordered as the ship decelerated. Full sensor sweep. Let's make sure we're not jumping into an ambush. The bridge crew worked silently, tension evident in every movement. First contact scenarios have been theorized and wargamed for decades, but reality carried a weight that no simulation could match. Captain, Sensor Officer Tran called out, I'm detecting a large object in orbit around the fourth planet. Matches the profile from the signal data. On the main view screen, the image resolved to show the massive Ark ship they had glimpsed in the Nixian transmissions. Even from a distance, the damage was evident. Huge sections of the crystalline hull were missing, and the once symmetrical structure listed to one side, its orbit clearly unstable. Life signs? Drake asked. Difficult to tell, sir. Their biology doesn't register on our standard scans, but there are energy signatures throughout the vessel, some stable, others fluctuating. Commander Chen stepped forward, studying the image with a mixture of awe and concern. They're dying, she said quietly. That ship was never meant to sustain them for 50 years. Drake nodded grimly. Helm, take us in. Approach Vector 227, nice and slow. Let them see us coming. As the horizon closed the distance, the true scale of the Nixian Ark became apparent. It dwarfed their vessel by orders of magnitude, a city in space that must have once housed millions. They're hailing us, announced Communications Officer Dias. Same frequency as before. Put it through. The bridge speakers emitted the now familiar crystalline tones, but this time, they were interspersed with halting English words, evidence that the Nixians had been analyzing human language during their brief encounter. Humans, come. Help. Time short. Dr. Lindholm worked with her translation algorithm, refining it in real time. They want us to dock at a specific point, she reported. They're sending coordinates now. Drake looked to his first officer. Commander Reyes, assemble the away team. Full environmental suits, minimal weaponry. We're here to help, not intimidate. I should go, Chen insisted. My team has the best understanding of their communications. Drake hesitated, then nodded. Agreed. But stay with the security detail at all times. 20 minutes later, Chen stood in the Horizon's airlock alongside Dr. Lindholm, Dr. Caffrey, and 4 security officers led by Commander Reyes. All wore the latest generation EVA suits equipped with enhanced sensors and communication systems. Remember, Reyes instructed, we maintain formation at all times. Unknown environment, unknown species. Standard first contact protocols apply. The airlock cycled, and they pushed off into a transparent docking tube that had extended from the Nixian vessel. It appeared to be made from the same crystalline material as the rest of the ship, yet it was clearly capable of flexing and adapting to the Horizon's airlock specifications. Incredible, breathed Dr. Caffrey. The material properties alone are beyond anything we've engineered. They traversed the tube in silence, propelling themselves in the zero-gravity environment until they reached a large chamber that seemed to function as an airlock for the alien vessel. The outer door sealed behind them, and the chamber filled with a thin, misty atmosphere. Atmospheric analysis, Rice prompted. Nitrogen-oxygen mix, reported one of the security officers. Higher oxygen content than Earth normal. Trace elements our sensors can't identify. Recommendation: remain suited. An inner door dilated open, revealing a vast chamber beyond. The humans pushed through and found themselves floating in a cathedral of light. The interior of the Nixian Ark was a sprawling open space filled with crystalline structures that resembled trees or coral, branching in all directions. Light pulsed through these formations in complex patterns, creating an ever-changing tapestry of color and shadow. In the spaces between these structures floated the Nixians themselves. They were not at all what Chen had expected. Rather than solid crystal beings, they appeared as swirling clouds of luminescent particles contained within translucent geometric shells, like living snow globes housing galaxies of light. They varied in size from as small as a human fist to larger than a person. One of the larger entities approached, its particle cloud forming patterns that reminded Chen of facial expressions. "Welcome, humans," came a voice through their comm systems. The words were halting but understandable. "We thank you're coming." Dr. Lindholm stepped forward. "We received your distress call. We're here to help." The Nixian's lights pulsed more rapidly. "Yes. Help. Our people dying. Ship failing. Enemy following." "The Void Eaters?" Chen asked. The crystalline shell of the Nixian briefly darkened, as if in fear or revulsion. "Yes. They consume all life, all matter. Nothing remains." "What happened to your homeworld?" Rise asked. Another Nixian joined the first, this one smaller and with a dimmer light cloud. "Gone. Devoured. We only survivors. Last of Nixian." Dr. Caffrey had been scanning the chamber with his instruments. "Commander," he said quietly to Chen, "these energy readings are critical. Their life support systems, if that's what they are failing systematically." Chen looked around the vast space, noticing now what she had missed at first. Many of the crystalline structures were dark or dimming, and numerous Nixians floated motionless, their internal lights barely flickering. "How many of you are left?" she asked. 3,412. The first Nixian replied. "Once, millions." Chen felt a weight settle in her chest. 3,000 individuals, all that remained of an entire civilization. "How can we help you?" she asked. The two Nixians conferred in rapid pulses of light before responding. "Need sanctuary, new home, can adapt to many environments, but must leave now. Ark dying. Void Eaters coming. How close are these void eaters? Rise demanded, his hand instinctively moving to his weapon. Scout ships detected. 1 solar day, perhaps less. Chen exchanged glances with her team. The horizon could perhaps take on a few dozen Nixians, but not thousands. And they had no authorization to offer Earth as a refuge for an alien species. We need to contact Earth, she said. Get instructions. No time, the Nixian insisted, its lights flashing urgently. But solution exists. The being led them deeper into the ark, where they discovered a section that seemed more intact than the rest. Here, crystalline pods lined the walls, each about the size of a coffin. Stasis chambers, explained their guide, can compress essence 1,000 Nixians in space of 1 human. Dr. Katri examined the technology with amazement. They're talking about some form of energy compression. If I understand correctly, they can convert their physical forms into pure energy patterns and store them. Like data storage? Chen asked. More like suspended animation. The Nixian corrected. We sleep, dream, await new home. Chen felt hope rising. And these pods would fit on our ship. Yes. Need only 3 cargo bays. Minimal power. It seemed too perfect, which made Chen suspicious. Why didn't you use these pods before, while you waited for rescue? The Nixian's lights dimmed. Pods, last resort. When awakened, not all survive. Some, patterns lost. But now, no choice. The gravity of the situation struck Chen fully. The Nixians were facing extinction, and were willing to risk a procedure with guaranteed casualties because the alternative was total annihilation. Before she could respond, the ship shuddered violently around them. Alarm pulses cascaded through the crystalline structures. What was that? Rise demanded. The Nixian shell flashed red. They come. Sooner than expected. Scout ship. Captain Drake's voice came through their comms. Away team, return immediately. We've detected an unknown vessel entering the system at high velocity. It's not responding to hails. Captain, Chen responded. We have a situation here. The Nixians have stasis technology that would allow us to evacuate survivors, but we need time to transfer it to the horizon. A moment of silence. Then, how much time? Chen looked to the Nixian, who flashed a sequence. They say 4 hours to prepare the pods and transfer them. Another violent shudder ran through the ark. You may not have 4 hours, Drake replied grimly. The unknown vessel will reach your position in approximately 50 minutes. The first Nixian's lights formed a pattern that somehow conveyed determination. We have defenses. Last weapons. Can delay. Perhaps. Chen made her decision. Captain, request permission to remain with the team to assist with evacuation preparations. The rest can return to the horizon to prepare the cargo bays. After a tense pause, Drake agreed. Granted. But at the first sign of direct danger, you pull out. That's in order, Commander. The next 30 minutes passed in a blur of activity. Half the away team returned to the horizon, while Chen, Dr. Lindholm, and 1 security officer remained to help the Nixians prepare their stasis pods. Meanwhile, the Nixian defenders activated ancient weapon systems that had lain dormant for decades. The scout ship has entered weapons range, Drake informed them. It's like nothing in our database. Black, geometric, absorbing all light around it. On a crystalline display, Chen watched as the Void Eater Scout approached, a perfect obsidian tetrahedron that seemed to distort space around it. There was something fundamentally wrong about it, as if it violated the natural laws of the universe by its very existence. Not living, the Nixian explained, sensing her horror. Machine. Sent to harvest. Prepare for larger ships. The Ark's defensive systems fired, beams of coherent energy that struck the scout ship directly. For a moment, Chen felt hope. Then the impossible happened. The black vessel absorbed the energy completely, growing slightly larger in the process. "It feeds," the Nixian said bleakly. "Our weapons. Make it stronger." Drake's voice came through again, tense but controlled. "Commander, the alien vessel has altered course. It's heading directly for the horizon now." "It senses your technology," the Nixian explained. "Fresh resources." Chen's mind raced. "Captain, shut down all non-essential systems. Minimal energy signatures. Make yourselves look less appetizing." "Already done, but it's still coming." The Nixians worked frantically to prepare their stasis pods, their lights pulsing with increased urgency. Chen helped as best she could, following their light-based instructions to connect power systems and initialize the compression process. "First group, ready," announced their Nixian guide. 300, prepared. "Shuttle 1 is en route to retrieve the first pods," Drake confirmed. On the display, Chen watched as the Horizon launched a small shuttle toward the Ark. Simultaneously, the Void Eater scout altered course again, now moving to intercept the shuttle. "It's going after the shuttle," she warned. "Evasive maneuvers," Drake ordered over the open channel. "Lieutenant Park, get those pods and get out." The shuttle pilot was skilled, executing a series of complex maneuvers that momentarily confused the pursuing scout. It reached the Ark, quickly loaded the first batch of stasis pods, and began its return journey. But the Void Eater was learning, anticipating the shuttle's movements. It closed the distance rapidly. "It's too fast," Park's voice came through, strained. "I can't shake it." Chen watched in horror as the scout ship extended a tendril of darkness toward the fleeing shuttle. Then, unexpectedly, the Ark's weapons fired again, not at the scout ship itself, but at the space around it, creating a distortion field that momentarily disrupted its pursuit. The shuttle made it back to the horizon safely, but Chen knew the reprieve was temporary. The Void Eater would adapt. "Second group, nearly ready," the Nixian announced. "But scout calls," to others. "More coming." "How long?" Chen demanded. "Hours, perhaps." "Not long." Drake's voice cut through. "Commander, we need to accelerate this evacuation. The scout ship is probing our defenses. I don't know how long we can hold it off." Chen turned to the Nixian. "We need to prioritize. Who are your most essential personnel?" "Scientists, leaders, those with unique knowledge." The Nixian's lights pulsed in what might have been surprise. "All Nixians. Equal. All contain collective memory. No hierarchy." Chen nodded, respecting their values but recognizing the pragmatism required. "Then we prioritize by survival probability. Who is strongest? Who has the best chance of rebuilding once safe?" The evacuation continued with renewed urgency. Shuttle 2 collected the second batch of pods, again narrowly evading the Void Eater's pursuit thanks to the Ark's defensive measures. But with each attack, the Ark's remaining energy reserves diminished. Systems began failing throughout the vessel, crystalline structures crumbling as power fluctuations cascaded through the network. "Commander," Drake's voice was deadly serious now. "The scout ship is changing, growing, and we're detecting multiple energy signatures entering the system. We have maybe 20 minutes before we're outnumbered and outgunned." Chen looked at the remaining Nixians, nearly 2,000 still waiting for evacuation. "We need more time," she said, desperation edging into her voice. Their Nixian guide had been conferring with others. It turned to Chen, its lights forming a pattern she hadn't seen before. "We have. Solution. Dangerous. Need human. Help." The plan was audacious and terrible. The Nixians would overload their Ark's core, essentially creating a miniature supernova. The resulting electromagnetic pulse would temporarily disable the Void Eater scout and give the Horizon time to escape with as many refugees as they could load. But someone would need to remain behind to manually trigger the overload. "I'll do it," Chen said immediately. "Show me how." Dr. Lindholm grabbed her arm. "Belisa, that's suicide." "There's no other way," Chen replied, her decision made. The Horizon needs you to communicate with the Nixians. I'm expendable. No, the Nixian guide interrupted. I will remain. Last duty, to my people. But you could survive in a pod, Chen argued. The Nixian's lights pulsed softly. My shell, damage, would not survive. Compression. Better this way. Purpose, in end. After a brief but intense argument, Chen accepted the Nixian's sacrifice. With the plan set, they worked frantically to load the remaining pods into shuttles. The Horizon positioned itself as close as possible to the Ark, minimizing transit time for the evacuation vessels. The scout ship seemed to sense their increased activity, becoming more aggressive in its attacks. Twice it nearly captured a shuttle, only foiled by increasingly desperate defensive measures from the Ark. Finally, the last group of pods was loaded, just over 2,000 Nixians, saved out of the original 3,000. Not perfect, but far better than extinction. All shuttles accounted for, Commander, Drake confirmed. We're ready for emergency departure. Get back here now. Chen turned to the Nixian guide, who had escorted them back to the docking tube. Come with us, she pleaded one last time. We might find a way to heal your shell. The beam's lights formed a pattern that somehow conveyed a smile. No, my journey ends here. Yours, just beginning. It extended a tendril of light, touching Chen's suit. Remember us. Tell others of Nixia. I promise, Chen whispered. As she and the remaining team members entered the docking tube, the Nixian transmitted one final message. When ready, we become Guardians of Stars. The Horizon disconnected from the Ark and accelerated away at maximum thrust. Behind them, the Void Eater scout moved to pursue, then suddenly stopped as the Ark began to glow with increasing intensity. Energy readings off the scale, reported Sensor Officer Tran. The Ark's core is going critical. Maximum shields, Drake ordered. Brace for impact. The view screen automatically darkened as the Nixian Ark exploded in a blinding flash of light. The shockwave hit the Horizon seconds later, tossing the ship like a toy despite its shields. When they recovered and the view screen cleared, the Ark was gone. And so was the Void Eater scout, reduced to scattered particles by the force of the explosion. Other Void Eater signatures, Drake demanded. Still approaching, but at least 6 hours out, Tran replied. Plot course for Earth, maximum speed, Drake ordered. Let's get our passengers home. In the days that followed, as the Horizon raced back toward Earth, Chen spent much of her time with the awakened Nixian representatives. They were learning English rapidly, eager to share their knowledge and culture with their saviors. Your guide, Chen asked one day, the one who stayed behind. What was their name? The Nixian's lights formed a complex pattern. In your words, perhaps eternal light. They were historian. Remembered. Old stories. Old stories, yes. Legends of star guardians. Ancient races who protect young species, who sacrifice, so others live. The Nixian's particles swirled thoughtfully. Perhaps, now we become legend too. When the Horizon finally reached Earth orbit, they were greeted as heroes. The arrival of the Nixian refugees marked a new chapter in human history. First contact, first alien refugees, and first awareness of a hostile force in the galaxy. In the years that followed, humanity and the Nixians formed a deep alliance. The crystalline beings shared their advanced technology, while humans provided a new home and protection. Together, they established an early warning network spanning dozens of star systems, watching for signs of the Void Eaters. On the 5th anniversary of the rescue, a memorial was unveiled at the newly established Nixian settlement in Antarctica. It depicted a human hand and a Nixian light tendril reaching toward each other, and bore a simple inscription, in memory of those who became guardians of the stars, so that others might live. Commander Eliza Chen, now Admiral Chen and Earth's ambassador to the Nixian Council, stood before the memorial alongside her Nixian counterpart. As the Antarctic sun glinted off the crystalline monument, She reflected on how a simple distress call had transformed humanity's place in the cosmos. They were no longer alone, no longer confined to their little corner of the galaxy. They had answered a cry for help across the stars and found not just allies but a purpose greater than themselves. In saving another species from extinction, humanity had discovered its destiny. Guardians of the stars, protectors of life, a beacon of hope in a universe darker and more dangerous than they had ever imagined. And somewhere out in that darkness, the Void Eaters were coming. But this time, Earth would be ready.